Her incredible career began by pure chance on a busy Beijing street, a discovery that launched her into stardom as the beloved clear-mouthed girl. But Gao Yuanyuan's journey was far more complex than a simple fairy tale. It was a story of battling to be seen for her talent, not just her famous beauty, and of navigating the intense pressures of the entertainment industry. From blockbuster films to a high-profile marriage and a quiet retreat from the public eye, this is the story of how she defined success on her own terms. For more deep dives into iconic lives, hit that subscribe button. In the mid-1990s, the bustling Wangfujing shopping district in Beijing was a river of people, a place where the old city met the new, and destinies could change in the blink of an eye. For a young woman named Gao Yuanyuan, that is exactly what happened. She was not an aspiring actress, nor did she come from a family with connections to the film industry. She had no formal training from the prestigious drama academies that typically produce China's next generation of stars. She was simply a student walking down the street when a talent scout saw something special in her. It was a chance encounter, a moment of pure luck that would set her on a path she had never imagined. Her journey into the world of entertainment began not with a dramatic audition, but with a simple offer to appear in a television commercial. Her first foray was for an ice cream brand, and soon other offers followed. Her fresh-faced girl-next-door appeal resonated with the public. It was her appearance in an advertisement for a popular brand of mouth-freshening lozenges that truly cemented her early identity. The campaign was a massive success, and she became known across the country as the Clear-Mouth Girl. The nickname stuck, a testament to her wholesome and approachable image that seemed to represent a kind of modern innocence. While this initial success brought her recognition, it also established a public persona tied almost exclusively to her looks. She was the pretty face on television, a pleasant and familiar presence. But the idea of her as a serious performer was not yet part of the public consciousness. The transition from the 30-second world of commercials to the narrative demands of film came in 1997 with a role in Spicy Love Soup. The film, an anthology of stories about modern relationships in Beijing, was a fitting start. It was contemporary, youthful, and allowed her to take her first tentative steps as an actress without carrying the weight of an entire film on her shoulders. Her performance was a natural extension of her commercial persona, but it proved she had a screen presence that could last longer than a commercial break. It was a crucial first credit, a foot in the door of the highly competitive Chinese film industry. Over the next few years, she continued to build her resume, but it was a television series in 2003 that would catapult her to a new level of stardom. She was cast as Zhou Jiruo in the adaptation of The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, one of the most beloved wuxia novels of all time. These martial arts epics are cultural touchstones in Asia, and landing a major role in such a production guarantees massive exposure. Her character was not a simple heroine. Zhou Jiruo is one of the most complex and tragic figures in the story, a gentle soul who is pushed by circumstance toward a path of darkness and vengeance. The role required more than just looking pretty. It demanded a portrayal of inner turmoil, of love turning to bitterness, and of innocence lost. Gao rose to the challenge, delivering a performance that won the hearts of millions. She captured the character's duality perfectly, earning both sympathy and awe from audiences. Overnight, she was no longer just the clear-mouthed girl. She was a household name across Asia, a bona fide star. With the immense popularity of the series, Gao could have easily continued down the path of television stardom, but she was determined to build a more substantial and respected career in film. She made a deliberate pivot, seeking out projects with acclaimed directors that would challenge her as an artist. In 2001, she had a role in Beijing Bicycle, a gritty, realistic film that explored the lives of two young men in the city. The film was a critical success, winning the prestigious Silver Bear at the Berlin International Film Festival and signaling to the international film community that Gao was an actress to watch. This was followed by Shanghai Dreams in 2005, a film that screened at the Cannes Film Festival and won the jury prize. These projects were a world away from the fantasy settings of wuxia dramas. They were serious, art house films that lent her significant credibility and proved she had the talent to hold her own in a more demanding cinematic landscape. Yet, as her career flourished and the accolades rolled in, a quiet struggle was taking place within her. The praise she received almost always began with a comment on her beauty. She was described as elegant, beautiful, and possessing a classic look. While meant as compliments, these words began to feel like a limitation. She expressed a growing anxiety that her appearance was a barrier, preventing critics and audiences from truly seeing her work as an actress. She feared that no matter how hard she worked or how challenging a role she took on, she would always be judged by her face first. It was a profound internal difficulty, a feeling that her most celebrated asset was also a cage that kept her from being recognized for her craft. This anxiety fueled her ambition. She became even more determined to break out of the box the public had placed her in. In 2006, she took a role in Hood, a fast-paced action comedy starring the legendary Jackie Chan. Working alongside an international action superstar was another strategic move to diversify her portfolio and demonstrate her versatility. The film was a commercial success and showed a lighter, more dynamic side to her acting. It was another step in her ongoing quest to prove that she was more than just a pretty face. By the late 2000s, Gao Yuanyuan had successfully established herself as one of China's leading actresses, with a career that spanned popular television, blockbuster action, and critically acclaimed dramas. She had earned the respect of her peers and the adoration of the public. Yet the quiet battle to have her talent fully recognized on its own terms, separate from her famous beauty, was a journey that was far from over. The desire to be seen for her talent, not just her appearance, had been a quiet but persistent undercurrent in her career. In 2009, she made a choice that would silence any remaining doubters. She took on a leading role in City of Life and Death, a harrowing, black and white historical drama about the 1937 Nanjing massacre. The film was brutal, unflinching, and emotionally devastating. Her role was not glamorous. She played Miss Zhang, a teacher who heroically tries to protect others in the face of unspeakable violence. There were no beautiful costumes or flattering lights, only the stark reality of war and survival. The role required a deep emotional well and a performance stripped of all vanity. It was a monumental risk, a deliberate step into the heart of a national trauma, and it became the defining moment of her acting career. The film received widespread international acclaim, and her performance was universally praised for its power, subtlety, and raw emotional honesty. The conversation had finally shifted. No one could deny the depth of her talent now. She had proven herself to be one of the most formidable actresses of her generation. Having reached this critical peak, she demonstrated her versatility by moving seamlessly between heavy dramas and lighter, more commercial fare. In 2011, she starred in the romantic comedy Don't Go Breaking My Heart, a stylish and modern film that was a box office smash. Her ability to pivot from a wrenching historical epic to a charming urban romance showcased her incredible range and solidified her status as a bankable leading lady who could appeal to all audiences. The following year, she starred in Caught in the Web, a contemporary thriller about the dangers of cyberbullying and mob mentality in the digital age. The film was another critical and commercial success, praised for its timely social commentary. But for Gao, this project would have consequences that rippled far beyond the box office, setting in motion a profound change in her personal life. On the set of Caught in the Web, she found a connection with her co-star, the Taiwanese-Canadian actor Mark Chow. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, and it soon became clear that their connection was just as real off-screen. Their relationship blossomed away from the cameras, and in 2014, they married. Their union was celebrated as the merging of two of East Asia's brightest stars, and their wedding photos captivated the public. However, being half of a power couple came with intense scrutiny. The spotlight on their relationship was relentless, and they faced the challenge that all high-profile couples do: navigating a private life under a very public microscope. A minor controversy even arose as some of Gao's most devoted fans expressed their disapproval, believing Chow was not good enough for their idol. It was a strange and difficult side effect of fame, but the couple weathered it with grace, presenting a united front that only seemed to strengthen their bond. As she settled into married life, a noticeable shift began to occur. The relentless pace she had maintained for over a decade started to slow. She began to turn down roles, choosing her projects with even greater care and taking longer breaks between them. This was not a sign of a waning career, but a conscious and deliberate reprioritization. She spoke openly about the difficulties of her profession, explaining that with both her and her husband working as actors, their schedules were often chaotic and unpredictable. The simple act of maintaining a stable home life had become a challenge. Furthermore, she felt a growing responsibility to care for her aging parents. The glamour of film sets and red carpets began to hold less appeal than the quiet, invaluable moments spent with family. She was choosing a different kind of fulfillment, one that could not be measured in awards or box office numbers. Then, in 2018, an external event sent shockwaves through the Chinese entertainment industry and had an unexpected effect on her career. The country's biggest star, Fan Bingbing, became embroiled in a massive tax evasion scandal, disappearing from the public eye and leaving a vacuum in her wake. Brands that had relied on her image scrambled to find a replacement, someone whose reputation was unimpeachable. They found that person in Gao Yuanyuan. Over a career spanning 2 decades, she had cultivated an image of elegance, integrity, and quiet dignity. She was seen as a safe harbor in a turbulent sea. Without seeking it out, she suddenly became one of the most in-demand brand ambassadors in the country. It was a strange irony, as she was intentionally stepping back from the spotlight to focus on her personal life. Her public value soared to new heights, a testament to the power of a long-cultivated, scandal-free reputation. This period was defined by a mature recalibration of her life's purpose. She had achieved her goal of being recognized as a serious actress. She had found a life partner, and she was now consciously building a future that placed her personal well-being and family at its center. Her journey was no longer about proving herself to the world, but about creating a life that was true to herself. The shift that had begun years earlier, a slow and deliberate turning away from the relentless demands of her career, found its true north in 2019. The news of her pregnancy was a joyful announcement that confirmed what many had already observed. Gao Yuanyuan was building a life centered on family. In May of that year, she and Mark Chow welcomed their daughter, Ria. This was not just a new chapter, it was a new book entirely. The arrival of her child solidified her transition from a full-time actress to a full-time mother. The world of film sets, shooting schedules, and promotional tours faded into the background, replaced by the intimate, all-consuming rhythm of caring for a newborn. Her already infrequent public appearances became even rarer as she fully immersed herself in this new and profound role. Of course, even an event as personal as the birth of a child could not escape public commentary. In the vast and often critical world of social media, there was some chatter and minor controversy among netizens regarding the name they had chosen for their daughter. It was a fleeting and trivial matter, yet it served as a poignant reminder that for someone of her stature, no part of life is ever truly private. Every choice is subject to discussion and judgment. But this small ripple of online noise hardly registered against the powerful tide of her new life. She had entered a different sphere of existence where the opinions of strangers mattered less than ever before. Her focus was singular, her joy palpable, and she navigated this new phase with the quiet grace that had become her signature. With this newfound focus came a profound change in her own perspective, a shedding of the anxieties that had trailed her for years. In occasional interviews, she spoke with a newfound candor about her personal evolution, the insecurity she once felt about her beauty, the persistent fear that it overshadowed her talent, had dissolved with time and maturity. She no longer saw her appearance as a limitation or a defining feature, but simply as a part of who she was. More remarkably, in an industry obsessed with youth, she began to speak openly about embracing the process of aging. She expressed a sense of peace with the changes that time brings, viewing it not as a loss, but as a natural and welcome progression. This perspective was a quiet act of rebellion against the intense pressures placed upon women in the public eye. She was letting go of the need for external validation, finding a deeper and more stable sense of self-worth. This internal peace allowed her to fully embrace a core aspect of her personality that had always been at odds with her profession, her introversion. She began to describe herself as someone who, at heart, preferred a quiet and solitary life. For decades, her job had required her to be constantly public, to navigate crowded events, engage in endless social interactions, and live under the unblinking gaze of the camera. While she had always handled these duties with professionalism, she revealed that it was often a performance in itself. Her decision to step back was not just about making time for family. It was about honoring her own nature. It was permission to finally live a life that felt authentic to her, away from the draining social demands of the entertainment world. This revelation recontextualized her entire career, painting a picture of a woman who achieved extraordinary success in an environment that was fundamentally counter to her own temperament. Despite her retreat from the spotlight, the public's affection for her and her husband did not wane. In fact, it seemed to deepen. The couple was celebrated for their low-key and demonstrably affectionate relationship. Candid photographs would often surface, not from glamorous red carpets, but from everyday life. The two of them walking hand in hand down the street, visiting a park with their daughter, or sharing a simple meal. These glimpses into their normal life were cherished by the public, reinforcing their image as a grounded and genuine couple. They were not just celebrities, they were a family. This authenticity made them more relatable and more beloved than any blockbuster film ever could. They had achieved a rare status, commanding immense respect and admiration while living largely outside the celebrity machine that had created them. Success for Gao Yuanyuan had been completely redefined. It was no longer measured by the number of scripts on her desk or the awards on her shelf. Success was now the quiet rhythm of her days, the joy of watching her daughter grow, and the strength of her partnership with her husband. She had found a different kind of influence, one that came not from being everywhere at once, but from her powerful example of a balanced life. She represented the possibility of having it all, not at the same time, but in different seasons of life. From the fresh-faced, clear-mouthed girl discovered by chance on a busy street, to the critically acclaimed actress who proved her talent on the world stage, her journey had been remarkable. But perhaps her greatest achievement was her final act. Having reached the pinnacle of public success, she had the wisdom and courage to turn inward, choosing to build a life of private meaning and personal peace. She had taken control of her own story, and in doing so, had written the happiest ending of all. Ultimately, Gao Yuanyuan's story is a powerful lesson in redefining success. After reaching the pinnacle of fame and proving herself as a world-class actress, she made the courageous choice to turn inward, prioritizing family and personal peace over professional accolades. Her journey from a reluctant beauty icon to a confident woman who embraced her own path is a quiet but profound inspiration. She didn't just build a successful career, she built a successful life on her own terms. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to our channel for more profiles on figures who challenged the meaning of fame.